Good morning, grade 10s. In this video, we're going to go over chapter 4, basic concepts of system software. Now, this is not going to be an in-depth video. I'm very much going to just run through the different topics, just explain briefly what each one possibly is or means, and what's important, and perhaps what's a little bit less important. So, skipping the introduction, please feel free to read through these little extra pieces of information if you like. Let's get straight down to the first heading over here, system software. Now, when someone says system software, they probably or most likely talking about an operating system. What is an operating system? First of all, it is software. Okay, you can see in the name, that means it's programming. What type of programming? We're talking about operating systems like Microsoft Windows, Windows 10, Windows 8. Linux is also an operating system. If you have a Mac laptop or computer, an Apple laptop, then it's running Mac OS, which is their version of the operating system. An operating system manages the hardware, so it manages what the CPU does. It's like the big boss. It manages what the RAM, what the hard drive, what's going on throughout the motherboard. It manages when the keyboard and the mouse is allowed to speak to the rest of the computer. It manages what shows up on your screen. All of this is controlled by the operating system. In our case, that's Windows 10. So the operating system has different functions and tasks that it carries out on your device. In order to make these functions easy to understand, they are grouped in the following categories. So these are the different functions. Let's look at graphical user interface here since it is highlighted. Indeed, it's very important because every version of Microsoft Windows, perhaps you guys saw Microsoft Windows 7, then Windows 8, we're currently on Windows 10, and it's rumored that Windows 11 is going to be announced tomorrow. That's just a rumor. But anyways, with each version of Windows, you notice that the screen changes, the layout of the apps and the icons, the color scheme, the theme that's going on is slightly different between versions. That's because each operating system manages the graphical user interface. That's what you see on your screen. It's the wallpaper, it's the icons, the shortcuts, the little buttons that you click on when you're selecting through different options in Delphi or on Microsoft Word. That's all controlled by the operating system. If you go from Windows 10 to Linux, you'll see that the color scheme is different. The buttons look slightly different. Perhaps they're more rounded or have a different font. That's because all of that is controlled by the operating system. Now, there's other things as well, like I/O management, which stands for input-output. So that's when the keyboard is allowed to speak to the computer, when the screen is allowed to display certain things. Process, file. I'm not going to go through each one. I want you to just read through it once while paying attention, and that should be enough. Skip over that exercise. All right. Types of operating systems. So when I say type of operating system, I'm not talking about, okay, do you have Windows 7 or do you have Windows 8? No, I'm not talking about versions. I'm talking about different types. Now, you most likely have only ever come into contact with one type of operating system, and that is the standalone operating system that we see over there in the top heading. That's your normal operating system you find on your laptop, you find on your computer here at school or at home. It's meant for normal use by normal people like us. These operating systems function entirely independent from a network on a computer or mobile device. It ensures the tasks of the operating system can be performed on the device. The next one we have is a network operating system. Network or server operating systems are operating systems designed to help computers work together on a network rather than in a standalone mode. Now, yes, our computers are connected to a network. We're connected to the internet. Here at school, we're connected to the local school network. But just because we're connected to the internet or a network doesn't mean we're using a network operating system. Each computer is still very much using a standalone one. The network operating system is like the server's operating system, the big boss. Usually in a network, we have one computer that will be running the operating system for the network. We have it in our lab. If you look to the corner, when you come in, you see there's a big computer over there. That's the server. It's running a network or a server operating system. They give you a couple of examples over here. Windows Server, which is the one we use in the IT lab. Red Hat Enterprise, which is a Linux-based operating system. Ubuntu Server, and Unix. And the third type of operating system is the embedded operating system. It's designed for a specific purpose. Smart TVs have their own specific operating system. You can't put that operating system on a computer and use it. It's made just for the smart TV. For GPS systems, like back in the day, you used to have a separate component, just GPS. Today, it's obviously built into our cell phones, but back in the day, it was a separate device. Video cameras, if you have a digital camera, it has an operating system, but that operating system is made just for that device. It's not made for others. So it is an embedded operating system. To give you another example, before we had smartphones like we currently do today that's running Android or iOS, before that, each cell phone, before they were smart, had its own embedded operating system. So if you had a Samsung E250, it had an operating system made for that phone. You couldn't take that operating system off and put it on your friend's phone, for instance. It only worked on that phone, so that was embedded. Today, it's different. Today, we have smartphones which run Android. Android is designed to run on many phones. iOS is one operating system designed to run on all Apple phones. So that's not embedded operating system. See, it's different. So again, skipping over this, utilities and drivers. So we've now spoken about system software, operating systems. But there's some other types of software that come bundled in with system software, or at least work very closely with it. And that is utility programs and device programs. Driver programs, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Driver programs. Let's first talk about utility. A utility program is usually a type of software that is built into the operating system. So it comes with Windows 10. What do I mean? I mean, when you install Windows 10, you'll find that that's already there. So although this is not a good example, but it's perhaps one that you're familiar with, once you've installed Windows 10 on your new computer, you'll find that Solitaire, the card game, is already installed because it came with the operating system. Now, that's not really a utility software. When I talk about utility, I'm talking about programs that help the computer run smooth. They help with the maintenance of the computer. So let's talk about, if I can think of one off the top of my head quickly, the backup software to help you back up onto a separate hard drive if you want to keep your files safe in the case that one hard drive breaks, or other types where they going blank here, other types of utility software where they clean up the hard drive, so they remove the junk off of the hard drive. Junk like stuff that you haven't used in a really long time. Okay, let's carry on. So that's that. Disk cleaner, there we go, that's the one I was thinking about. That helps a user free up space on their storage device. That's a utility that comes built in with Microsoft Windows. File managers, to allow users to manage the files that are stored on their computers. And task managers. So if I right click here on the bottom and I say task manager, this is a piece of software that is a utility. I can use it to manage my computer. I can see what's running. I can see how much RAM, how much CPU it's using, and I can close the apps if I want to. I'm not going to do that now because I need these. But this is a utility software. I can even see some graphs over here. Anyways, let's carry on. Without these utilities, it would be a lot harder for the user to manage and keep their computers running optimally. All right, so that is the first utility. Let's move on now to drivers. Drivers are important. Let's start by going back a few years, maybe 10 or so years, maybe more. You bought a new monitor to plug into your computer, an upgrade. You plug it in and nothing happens. It's on, but it's not showing anything on the screen. That's because the monitor doesn't know how to communicate with your computer yet. Let's take another example. You bought a printer. You connected it. Everything is connected as it should be. The printer's on. There's paper. The ink cartridges are installed. But you can't see it on your computer. It's not an option for you to select when you want to print. What's wrong? It's not broken. It's just that the printer and the computer, they don't know how to speak the same language. They don't know how to talk to each other yet. So what we need is a device driver. These came with whatever you bought. So it came as a CD or long time ago floppy disks with the software that you bought inside the box. It came there as a CD. You took it out, you installed it, you installed the software that was on it, and it was basically, how can I say, like the middleman between your computer and your new device that you bought, allowing them to speak to each other and to be used by each other. Today, a lot of things still do come with a CD, but most of the time we don't even need it. We ignore the CD. Why? Because as soon as you plug it in, Windows 10 automatically goes online and searches for the device drivers for that printer or monitor or mouse or keyboard that you just plugged in, and it finds it, installs it, and your device is ready to go right off of the bat. So that is a device. All right, let's see here what they say. A device driver is software that contains a set of instructions that commands a computer's operating system on how to communicate with the hardware so that it can function properly. All right, there we go. That's the textbook definition. So installing a device, plug and play. What is plug and play? Each time new hardware is connected to a computer, the operating system detects and identifies that hardware. That's kind of what I was explaining just now. Installing of a new device can then happen in either one of the following ways. Either automatic driver installation will happen, which is what I just explained, where Windows 10 automatically goes and finds the drivers and automatically installs it. Or the other option is manual driver installation. Sometimes the first option might not work. So let's see. Automatic driver installation. The operating system locates the correct driver for the identified device in its driver database, or it will go online and find it. Manual driver installation. If a driver is not available inside the operating system, or the operating system just cannot identify what device was plugged in, you'll need to do it manually. And manual installation is usually done in Windows via the device manager or the file setup. This can be found on the hardware's accompanying DVD or CD, or manually downloaded from the manufacturer's website. So just a few minutes earlier, I told you that when you bought a new printer, inside the box came a CD or a DVD. These days, by the time you get the printer, that DVD is already out of date. So you can just download the most up-to-date driver from their website and manually install the driver. All right, lots of activities that you can look at. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, a shorter chapter. Again, not in detail. Please read through the chapter on your own. You need to read it. You need to understand it. If you'd like to Google some videos or YouTube some videos about specific things, let's say you're not really catching what a driver is or why it's so important, go onto YouTube, device driver explanation, YouTube it, watch a video, they might be able to help you a little bit more.